I want to ask, do you want to be courted?
Yeah. Date
That's
me.
an old-fashioned word, courted.
Yes. A lot of guys, that's another obstacle. And like a lot of people don't know how to take that lead, take the initiative when you're into somebody. Like date me, court me. And it's like you don't even have to drop a bunch of stacks. Like be thoughtful. Like be resourceful. Pinterest could be your best friend. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like be resourceful, be thoughtful. Like we would, appreciate those things. And it's like just be creative. You know what I'm saying? I do like to be dated. A lot of people want to Netflix and chill or just chill. And like I have said when I met people, like, I just met you. I'm not chilling with you on the first date. I'm not a chiller. I date. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's levels to this thing.
It makes so much sense. Like I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, we were just hanging out," and there's so much of that. And again, I'm giving my generation away. Again, I'm an Xer. And but I call myself a millennial whisperer because most of my clientele are millennials, and there's this thing where it's like, hey, let's come over and hang out rather than let's go to a dinner, let's go to a movie, even let's go and have a coffee and a dessert and just talk. That the art of conversation has been replaced with Netflix and a cocktail. And so there's that, it makes courting feel like it's a kind of a lost art. And believe it or not, ladies, we can court as well, that if you've got a guy who's taking you out on a date to make a great home cooked meal or plan a picnic. But guys, you can do that too. It's so easy. There are lots of wonderful things that I would suggest going back maybe a year or so into some of my videos and talk about, is romance dead? No, it's not. People are absolutely hungry for it. They miss it.
It goes into the thoughtfulness and even if you do invite someone over, like if you have an apartment where you have a rooftop, like rent that rooftop and do a picnic up there, or do some wine tasting or like liquor tastings or something like that, and make that a picnic. Like if that's what you want to do as far as chilling, that don't even cost a lot. You know what I'm saying?
A carpet picnic in your apartment, or just a meal, even that you've ordered in, and light some candles, and put on some romantic music. Yeah. I've always, my son has just started dating. He'll be mortified, but he's never going to see this video anyway. He's 16 and, again, showing my age. But you guys will know Do for Love if you've ever listened to Tupac, and he's got the Isley Brothers on there. And I always tell my son, like, look, if you want to, one day you're going to be in your dorm room. It's happened much sooner than the dorm room. And you're going to have some girl that you want to impress. And, put on the Isley Brothers, and I will tell you that I've heard the Isley Brothers at my house, and I'm like, okay, he actually is listening. And then last night, he made pasta from scratch for his girlfriend. Oh, wow. And so I was like, wow, this, he's actually listened to me, which is kind of surprising. Anyway, so courting, please, it's not dead. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Get some candles, buy some matches, put on some great music, get a bottle of inexpensive wine. It doesn't have to be over the top to create a great mood. And so you used a word that is kind of a trigger word for me, I'll be honest. And so I'm just opening my kimono today, and the word, or maybe you didn't use this word. You said equally yoked, and you said leadership. So she didn't use the word, but it made me think of my trigger word, which is submissive. And so I don't do submissive, but I know a lot of my clients, they talk about it. It's important for them to communicate that with their partner. So what do you think about the word submissive?
When it comes to submission, I feel like right now in the climate that we're in with social media and people who just volunteer their opinion of things, and I think when it comes to submission, people have put such a negative light on it. So there is a lot of negativity that comes with it. However, and a lot of times when it comes to submission, people only focus on one part of it, especially when they're speaking from a biblical standpoint. It's like they take that one part and they stand on that one part for themselves as like manipulations per se, but it goes deep. And it's like, I feel like one of those, when it comes to submission, like I like a man that is a man, and it's just like that leadership, that consideration of me and paying attention to me, and like, you know, being into me. It's like a be something. And I feel like that delicate submission will come naturally. But when I say submission, it's beyond what people are saying. Like, submission is vulnerability. Like, that's
so interesting, because I think you're seeing it as vulnerability, and I see it as less than. That somebody tells me I have a penis, and so therefore I'm head of household, and I see it as we'll both acquiesce depending on what it is. Like, so if you know more about finances, then I'm going to acquiesce to that. If you and so when my clients use it, it almost feels like the woman has to lower herself, but that's not what you're saying.
No.
You're saying it's about being vulnerable. So what do you call vulnerability for a man? Do you call that submission too?
I mean, let me see, how can I say this? Submission, what you're saying as far as the definition of submission and how you see it goes into play of what I'm saying as far as the parts of it, the negativity of it that's being highlighted. And that's why such a negative connotation of it, because of how people are using it and how people are using it to manipulate or to control their relationships or their situation.
Oh, I see. I do see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I feel like that's what like the whole highlight of submission has been and is currently. That's like what it is, and what a lot of people are using, and they're missing the entire point. And I feel like when it comes to submission, it's like, if you're that natural leader of a man, like I've said, like, you taking me into consideration, you're listening to me, like you're making me a priority in your life, and you know, that comes naturally. And it's like, you know, that delicacy comes out, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times people are saying like a lot of women in our generation now don't have that softness anymore or that delicacy, but like, are you giving her that space to be that? What are you doing? We could go on and on and on.
I don't control the helicopters going over. So I'm sorry, because what you're saying is really important.
Yeah.
Because I think, Deanna, you're really speaking for a lot of women who are saying, hey, no, this term has been misconstrued.
Yeah.
It's not. It has now this negative taste, and really it's something much more positive.
Yeah, and it's just like, be worth that submission. Like, are you somebody to submit to? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you? Are you healed? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, it's a lot. Submission is another onion along with ego. And, you know, and the wrong person with ego will take submission the wrong way and use it as control and manipulation.
Wow. Preach. So, this is another broad question, but I love this question. In terms of dating, are you encouraged or discouraged? And I want you to be honest about this one. I'm not that you're not honest, but you know, sometimes we want to like put a good face on it. But in terms of dating, are you encouraged or discouraged about the future?
I would say I want to say apathetic. However, I'm a little encouraged, because I feel like with my generation as a millennial, and then like my peers, and then just trying to keep the faith with some things, you know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to get discouraged, especially living here in Atlanta. And it's so easy to only focus on the negative, but to just to maintain optimism and, you know, faith, it's just like one of those things. It's like, a lot of people are putting time into becoming the best versions of themselves.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people are putting more time into being everything that they were created to be and whom they were created to be as far as accomplishing their goals. And I feel like if people continue to do that, you know, what's meant for you will always come for you. And that goes with relationships as well. So just to be from a positive standpoint, because sometimes I'm very apathetic and I'm just like, whatever. But, you know, especially going around family and it's like, oh, you ain't brought nobody home. And I'm just like, I live in Atlanta, you know, and I really don't go out much. But just to say from an optimistic standpoint, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, when it's time for you, you know, just don't settle. And I think that, you know, it'll happen when it's supposed to, because a lot of times it's like you can meet the right person at the wrong season in your life and you can fumble that bag. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know how to see or recognize it from, you know, you just don't see or know how to recognize it. So sometimes, you know, the Gemini me is like real apathetic, but, you know, I'm going to be positive.
So it sounds like there's a little bit, you don't swing towards discouraged, but there's some times where you feel a little apathetic, not as much emotion around it, but then when you give it more thought, and there's some times where you're saying, you know what, I do feel encouraged because I see that, and I know Deanna, and she's always working to be the best version of herself, and so I think she's saying that, you know, being a millennial, and you guys are the smartest generation that we've ever had, the most philanthropic. You're also the most stressed out, though. And so given that, and that to me, if you look at that, most stressed out, but also the most philanthropic, you know, the most well-educated, you can see how apathy, and then, hey, I feel really encouraged, that the pendulum doesn't swing to discourage, but it does swing between apathy and maybe encouragement, because millennials are really, they're always in growth mode.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say always, but let's say a lot of millennials have really latched onto in a very positive way about personal growth. And so when you have somebody who's working on themselves like yourself, and if you find a partner like that, then that's going to be that's a fertile ground, if you think, for growing a really dynamic relationship.
It is. And then a lot of us in our in the millennials, we're changing the trajectory of our generational, I would say, a lot of us are breaking generational curses with our families. We are taking different approaches to things, and I love my tribe and the people that I have in my life, because it's like, even from cousins to best friends and sorority sisters, it's like a lot of people are just really out here becoming the best version of themselves in so many different ways, from mental health to career choices to it's a lot, you know what I'm saying? I see a lot, even with my classmates and, you know, male classmates as well, you know what I'm saying? It's like different things are being valued, and we're valuing experiences more. And a lot of us, we are also becoming, you know, that job generation too. And a lot of us are going into entrepreneurship.
YOLOing it.
There's
like,
so
hey.
much entrepreneurship, and like we are like our mental health is a priority now. And we refuse, because there's so many people that we have met on jobs that have been from, I wasn't even baby boomers, you know, some people that are so stuck in their ways.
And Generation Xers. Xers and baby boomers who have very prescribed ways of doing things, and they think it can only be done that way. And I think what you're saying is, millennials, not only you're feeling more positive about dating because millennials are innovators and they're changing the way that personal growth looks like, mental health. And so that's, again, not to repeat myself, but I am going to repeat myself, fertile ground for a positive future around dating, because that means healthier people.